It's kind of heavy. I mean, like I'm gonna tone it down. I think I need new music. It's just, I mean, it fires me up, Sam. Hey there,
Okay.
guys. Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs. How you doing? Welcome to another Tuesday night watch talk with Bobby Legs and friends. And I am joined with my friend here, Sam from the Casual Watch Reviews. Sam, how are you, man? Thank you for coming on. What's going on?
I'm great. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. We've just come fresh off the back of our live stream, our Tuesday night live stream. So yeah, this parlayed quite well, nicely into this one. I see a lot of the same faces as well that have been joining mine that join yours. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of cross I don't know, fans or watchers or whatever subscribers. I think we just all love chatting about watches,
yeah, we
right?
must be doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what do you got on wrist?
I'm actually wearing my sort of become my daily wear now. The Seiko GMT Sumo, the
Okay,
quartz
the
version.
quartz.
But
Yeah.
maybe we'll talk about this in a bit later on. But I just received the
Ooh, your
review
solo.
version. Yeah, the Christopher Ward 12 there. So with the I don't know what he's calling the dial, whether it's ice or something, but it's the bluer dial.
Yeah, yeah. Very,
Right.
very nice. You got that in. Hey, we're joined by Dib. Dib, how are you? Dib, also a fan of Christopher Ward. What's going on, Dib? How are you?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good, good. We're just hanging out here talking watches. Hey, I got hey, what do you have on, Deb, on wrist today?
A sinking ship, SLA 043.
Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. Hey, I want to hear about your little trip to the AD in a little bit. I got my Citizen Diver. I don't
Oh,
know.
nice.
Is it the Pro Diver 300? It's actually a pretty cool watch. Eco Drive, big fan of the Eco Drive, Dib and Sam. I really I just think it's a cool technology. But Sam, going back, speaking of okay, so going back to like quartz theme, I like the Sumo. It's one of my favorite Seikos. They come and go in my collection. I can't seem to keep them, but I do like them. I kind of feel like for that I wouldn't consider them like mid-tier Seiko diver like I would do with like the all the reissues like the 62 Mas and the 68 and the 65 and all the 60s, right? The MM200s. But so they're kind of like in the higher part of the lower end divers. Anyway, I think the uniqueness of the case I'm attracted to, and it's a big old thing, and I don't really mind it. Um, and I'm excited about a GMT sumo. I don't like the quartz chronograph sumo. I don't. There's something about it that's missing something. Now I'm not averse, obviously, to having a chrono quartz or eco drive watch, but for me, quartz and sumo kind of just doesn't jive. What are your impressions on that watch? Because I am curious about that.
Yeah, so great point. Not to plug my own channel, but there is a little
Mhm.
a little review that I did on it. So I've been going through a bit of a renaissance with quartz. I've been
Mhm.
really loving quartz because, to be honest, I don't. I've soured on Seiko mechanical movements like the 4R35 and lower. Anything like less than the 6R35. I've really soured on them because I've had many magnetize or lose time or maybe it's just bad luck on my side. So I was as soon as I found out this was quartz, that actually drew me to it.
Mm.
If you're wanting a watch that is a GMT, the GMT is actually hidden here, so you can't see
Yeah.
it. It's actually not that good a GMT because the numbers are very tiny. They're in between the
Hmm.
indices. They're very tiny, and I've got quite good eyesight, but it still takes your eyes
Yeah.
a second to register. I mean, it's both the bezel and the internal chapter ring are both misaligned, but it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
Seiko
Yeah.
quirk. What it should have is this should be a 12-hour bezel. The
Yeah.
bezel should be or a hybrid dive 12-hour bezel. That's what would really make this perfect.
Right.
The bracelet I think is ugly, and I took it off straight away. But then I've started wearing it on the bracelet. It's actually quite comfortable.
Yeah. I like the
Because
bracelet. Yep.
yeah, because it's got weird. There's
Mm.
something different about this case that
Hmm.
it won't take a normal sumo
Yep. Oh, okay.
bracelet. Yeah,
Okay.
I had a Crafter Blue
Yeah.
fitted only. I had to take a Dremel to it in the end because
Oh,
the case is
interesting.
just a little bit
Yeah.
more. There's just a different end link on internally, so that's a big thing. If you see any fitted bracelets or straps for the regular Sumo. They won't fit this one.
Okay. Is the case thinner?
No, it's something
No.
the internal. There seems to be more of a bump internally.
Okay.
After blue, you couldn't push it in enough.
Yeah.
I had to take a Dremel just to smooth, take a little bit of material out to push it further into the case.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Let's say hello to the chat first, and then we're going to talk a little bit of Christopher Ward. And I'm glad Dib jumped in here because he follows the brand as well, and talk about your impressions of Mike France and what I thought was a really good interview that you did a couple weeks ago, right around the release of that 12. So hey, Pocket Watch is here. How you doing, Pocket Watch? Marceau, hello, Marceau. What's going on? Cabby Lake is here. Good to see you. Hey, Deej is here wearing his Citizen ProMaster today. Chaz, let's go. Steve Time Hill is here. FP Wilson, how are you? Mr. Cassioke, thank you for joining us. Peter C is here. Brownie, go time for Watch Talk. Yeah, absolutely. Bruno is here. Chaz is wearing his Gray Side of the Moon for Speedy Tuesday. Also, in celebration of a new Omega release today that we'll touch upon. Kate Collin is here wearing his Explorer 2 Polar on wrist. Awesome. Detroit Spartan, what's up, man? Was hoping for a solid gold green dial Worldtimer. That's another one, right? I mean, they came out with the titanium and they came out with the gold green, but not gold, not solid gold, I don't think, right? We'll take a look soon though, Detroit Spartan. Yo, Michael B was here. How you doing? Bill K. Caliber, what's going on? How you doing, Caliber? Bill K is here. Justin is strapped in. Oh, Ms. Cassioke has a question for Sam. Agreed with your stream on the 12. If they had changed the indices on the dial, it would avoid the Chapek comparison. So we'll get into a little bit of that. Hey, Canadian Watch Monkey's here. He's wearing his Christopher Ward Sandhurst. Absolutely a great watch on par with the Tudor Ranger. Kevin Lake is wearing his green Seamaster tonight. Hey, Ken Spear is here. Dib thinking, who the hell is Sam Guy and what does he have to do with Dib? Detroit Spartan. All right, we got a wild crowd tonight. I have a feeling. Hey, fake Doctor. Oh, Alex is here. How you doing? What's going on? Paul is here. How you doing, Paul? Hey, James. Everybody. Hi, everybody. Hey, listen. Look, Sam. I don't know if this happens to you, but I'm like Ron Burgundy. When I put him up, I read him. So I apologize in advance if we get some saucy comments because you have some saucy guys here. Hey, so let's get into real briefly. I mean, I know I'm sure you're tired of talking about the new Christopher Ward and whatnot, but I mean, I do find it fascinating. And Dib, feel free to chime in with any questions. But what I liked about your interview with Mike Francis was, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started, was that it's seeming transparency, especially with that with the 12, right? He mentioned that they had started working. I think they started working on this a few years ago, but then they halted that, right? And then they continued it again. And look, I mean, like a lot of brands out there are riding that wave of integrated bracelet system sports watches. So kind of wasn't surprised that they came out with it. I think what a lot of people caught off guard was, look, we know with these sports watches here that there's going to be some sort of nod to the Royal Oak or one of the other ones because, well, I mean, like, they basically put it on the map. But a lot of people really found the connection with Chopek. Sam, what was your impression of Mike France? And I think you had mentioned to me just before that you've interviewed him several times. He seems like he'd be a straightforward guy. And then, like, tell us a little bit about his thoughts and your thoughts about this new watch.
Yeah. So, if anyone's not seen the interview of the 12, I split it out into two sections. The entire usually when you speak with Mike, we usually go for over an hour, and I used to have them as a podcast. In fact, I used to list the whole thing on YouTube, but for the algorithm, I decided to cut this bit out. So I did the 12, and then I did a separate section, about a 7-minute section, where he talked about prices in the watch industry. Because I straight up asked him, I was like, because he uses a lot of the same manufacturers that are used for the 12, manufacturers that are used by other luxury brands. There's a link between Christopher Ward and Armin Strom, and lots of other components that are in the 12 come from outsourced manufacturers that also make for some of the bigger brands. So I straight up asked him, I said, are the increases in watch pricing anything to do with inflation or supply chain? So watch that interview, because he's got a really interesting take on it. So this is probably the 7th time I've interviewed him. What you see Mike when you're interviewing him, that's what he's like off camera. I email him regularly. I usually have a good chat with him for 20-30 minutes before we even hit record. He is genuinely that nice. He's genuinely that straightforward. And so I knew that the 12 was going to be an interesting one. I'd seen a picture of it first. So I also saw the Chapek, the Antarctique reference straight away, because this is the one that they've sent me that probably looks the most like it. So I actually asked him that question about the Antarctique, and he wanted to do a Genta inspired watch. And like you said, they started it and then stopped it because they didn't think that what they'd originally made was anywhere near what they had envisioned it looking like. And they had done about 12 years ago an integrated bracelet watch as well. So this isn't even the first one that they did. But yeah, I asked him all about this. The reason it's called 12 is because of the actual bezel. So that's how it differs from the Antarctique. The Antarctique's got a smooth bezel.
Yeah.
But I mean, I suppose Dib and Bobby, what were your first impressions when you saw it?
Dib, go, please.
So I've been a big fan of Christopher Ward, and I think personally I bought over 25 over the last 3-4 years.
Oh wow.
This I mean, let's get this out of the way. Andrew Buckman, designer Chapek, designer Christopher Ward. So his design elements are clearly, they have taken inspiration, for lack of a better word, from the Antarctique. The only reason I'm going to give it a pass is because the same guy designed the two watches. It does look a bit homage to me, like there's a hint of Zenith, Defy. There's obviously the Chapek influence. I still usually I give like I don't like homage watches, and this watch has brought up many mixed feelings in me because one, I really like the watch. Number one, let's get that out of the way. Two, it's a bit too homage for me. Honestly, if it did not look so similar to the Chapek, I probably would have bought it already. But I want to keep an open mind. I'm going to watch time in October, and obviously Mr. France will be there. I met him last year too. So I'd like to see the watch in person and then give it a go. I think at the end of the day, it's again it gets a pass because the same guy designed the two watches, for me at least.
Yeah.
Feel free to interpret it however you want, because
Yeah.
I've been very critical of homage watches in the past.
Yeah,
Past copy watches, that's what I call them. This is very close to a copy. Let's get that out of the way for anybody thinks that I'm biased. But at the end of the day, Chapek decided to charge $10,000 for a titanium watch, and these guys are doing it, for $2,000. So Christopher Ward is using poor people titanium, I guess.
I tend to like integrated bracelet sports watches. Aesthetically, I find it very, very pleasing. To me, and I was saying this a little bit to you, Sam, before we started, and people here in the chat have heard me say this, that I view now it's getting to a point where like almost like everybody's coming out with one of these, right? And like some of the brands are like you know, like I feel like they feel like they're guilty. They feel guilty about coming out that they rush to point out to something back in their catalog. They'll be like, "Oh, see, we've done this before." So don't, you know what I mean? Don't call us like, don't give us a hard time, right? Like the PRX, right? No, we.
Mm.
So it was like, no, we did this in 70 something or other, right? Um, so I'm gonna like them, and I feel like, and what I was starting to say is, um, they start this type of watch is starting to feel like what the Flieger is, right? I mean, like, uh, I don't know who. I really don't know who first created the Flieger watch or the Flieger style watch. It feels like it was probably made because out of some functionality, it needed to be easily legible. And
Yeah.
there's every brand was like, oh yeah, of course we got to make. I mean, that makes sense. You pilots, we need something big to fit around their jacket, whatever. And so to me, it's getting to that kind of territory where it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I mean, Royal Oak is being credited to be like uh, the original one, and everybody's looking like a Royal Oak. Okay, fine. Now I'm finally ready to move on past that, and move past, thinking that they're more copies, more homages than copies, and maybe it's more of an homage to the type of watch itself and not who created that watch. So I like it. So this long story short, I like it. I feel like that ice blue that you have really screams Choppic, right? The other colors, maybe not so much. I know the Choppic and Arctic, they make other colors as well. But for some reason, that ice blue is just really screams Choppic to me. The other ones, like I said, not so much. And that would be the one, the one that you have would be the one that I would pick. The only thing that would hold me from picking that is I had a Seiko Sumo Ice Diver, the one with a very light pale blue like that, and I chased it, I got it, and I thought, this is gonna be the Sumo for me. I found it difficult to read because of the stainless steel, the indices, right? I mean, they was steel, not brushed but polished, kind of. And I find it hard to believe, and I worry that that's going to be hard to believe. So I want to see that in person first, because I know I can get another color dial, a version of that, and it'd be fine, the legibility. But I really like that color in that dial. So I like it. I like it, and I felt better about liking it after I saw your interview with Mike and what he said. So
Yeah, it's all nuance, isn't it? I mean, the dial definitely looks like Chepek, doesn't it? But the I would say the bracelet is probably a really high end version of the PRX with the butterfly.
yeah, okay.
It's because the Chapek's got it's the slightly different links, aren't they? They've got the polishing bit on it as well. But I agree. I actually asked him about the influence of the Chapek. What he said, influences was the series of Genta watches in the Ongenor as well that we've not mentioned as well.
Right.
And he said I think Dib, you said the Zenith Defy. He actually he listed that as a reference as well, that they was inspiration for this.
Yeah. And look, I mean, let me get to the chat, and then I'll wrap it up with another thought. Joey B saying, I like the 12 quite a bit. Truthfully, I'd buy one if it wasn't so jaded on the SW.
I have one addendum to that. So somebody from, well, not somebody, Jörg Bader, who is one of the guys at Christopher Ward, so he put in a comment saying that they haven't seen. So I mean, they have been putting out a lot of Celita 200s out there. So he was saying that the rate of failure has gone down significantly with the 200. Now, take that with a grain of salt. I'm just, communicating information that I saw on the internet. It can be true or it might be false. That's
okay. Fair enough. Kevin S, we are getting the Flieger speech, gents.
Well, yeah, Flieger was you were totally right. Flieger was a military specification, wasn't it? And then if you wanted to make watches for the Luftwaffe or whatever it was, you had to make them to that spec. That's why the dials looked the same and everything. So you were right; it was a military specification, and then people made to that. So it wasn't like a one.
Yeah. So like I don't know who got made the first one for the military, but nobody, and it. It probably wasn't like, as you said, it was specs. So we didn't have a famous designer. We didn't have like Gerald Genta designing it. But, and I'm not saying it's an apples and apples comparison, but it's as close to apples and apples as I can get with any other kind of style of watch that is so specific in a sense. Like I'm not, like there's dive watches that a lot of dive watches look a lot like each other. I wouldn't put that like in the Flieger um, integrated steel bracelet watch kind of category. But okay, moving on. Here, does Chopik make it in a white? I believe so. I believe there is a white, isn't there?
Yeah, without or with red triangles. That's the key.
Yeah, luxury watch YouTubers dressed a loading dock workers. Okay, I must have missed that one. Dib maybe thinks that Mike France is watching because Sam is on, so that's why
No,
that's why. It's,
honestly,
uh,
again, last year they come out with a bel canto, and that's such a huge jump in where they were
oh yeah.
compared to what they do usually. And the 12 to me seems like a step a little bit in the backward direction. Like, especially because once a company starts doing stuff like that, like, what are they going to come out with next? But
Mm,
I don't think this is a mistake because they're definitely filling a gap in the market. Price is excellent. It's
yeah.
definitely better quality than the PRX.
Well,
So
even
yeah,
so, what I wanted to come back to, and you're talking about price and comparison. Like, I don't necessarily think that PRX is comparison. I think when we used to call Acon, right? I think that is more of
so
where, and I
I
would have
think
this, rather have this than the Acon. You know?
I think the direct comparison for this would be a watch which nobody usually mentions, but it's called the Wempe Iron Walker.
Okay.
2000 to $2,500. Wempe is an old German jewelry
Mm-hmm.
brand who also does their own watches.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, it's a very homage watch,
Mm,
taken inspiration and design cues from other brands, but it's a solid watch, cost certified, like $2,500 for the three-hander. They have a Celita
yeah.
GMT. So that would be the direct comparison for this watch. I can't think of anything else with the specs.
But
If
sheer
I can.
price point, I'm thinking Acon. Just, I mean, because this watch is half the price of that Wempe, right? Because it's what, around 1,200.
For the
Yeah,
steel.
yeah,
For
yeah,
the
yeah.
steel.
For the steel version, and right, and that's totally right. We forgot that there is a titanium version of it.
Yeah, with the SW300
Or is it right?
husk.
Um, Pete, how you doing? Christopher Ward is a brand immune to nuance, gives you more of everything but restraint. Um,
Pete knows I don't agree with him on that point.
yeah. Chaz is pretty sure that Long Island watch was the first for the Flieger. Okay. Almost apples and oranges, right? Kevin, thanks for the correction. Stova made the first Flieger. Thank you, Bruno.
IWC must have been a fast follower.
Yeah, I think they all were pretty much around the same time, right? I mean, looks like an Ingenieur. Okay. All right. So, I mean, like, I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts on this before we move on. Sam, you're good. Dib, you're good.
Yeah, I'll be doing a review of it, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge Christopher Ward fan, but I'm very honest when I do the review. There's some that I've reviewed that I've just flat out not liked. The ones that have there's a one that had a sapphire dial, but it was like grey, and it just turned to a mirror in the sun. But I'm a fan of the brand. I'm Mike.
Yeah. The 12 would be nicer if the bel canto was introduced after it. Okay. I mean, okay. Hey Sam, would you consider what would you consider Christopher? I mean, would you consider it a micro brand? Have they moved past that micro brand kind of like?
Yeah. So I mean, if you speak to a lot of Mike France is not only does he run Christopher Ward, he runs the British Watch and Clockmakers Association, and they class themselves as British independent brands. So same as Braemont Wood, Fears calls themselves. None of those brands refer to themselves as like micro brands because Christopher Ward probably produces the same number of watches as Richard Mille or someone like that. So it's in the thousands. I mean, I think that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to give more more breadth to the collection, aren't they? So
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't think they are. It was just, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. I mean, like,
yeah.
just based on like, the volume of watches, the different, the size of the catalog. I think it's past that, and whatever. They're not doing any kind of like, kickstarting stuff. You know what I mean? They're not doing the
Yeah.
things that are there.
Like Yema or someone. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, Christopher Ward, I think, has created its own space. They were definitely a micro brand before,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't even know if I want to call them independent brand like Fremont is, but they're close. Definitely a different price tier, but I think they're if you look at their entire catalog, they offer a very and this is very apropos for this brand value for money. Price to material quality quotient is really high. And from what I have read and from what I've heard, from different people in the industry, they do share a lot of suppliers with the major Swiss brands.
Yeah.
And the direct approach, selling directly to their customers is how they can keep prices a little, cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And also they take a lower cut than major brands, that too.
Yeah.
So all I'll say at the end is this product is not for me, but it definitely gets a pass because the same designer designed it, and he can just claim, "Hey, that's my design. I put it on another watch. Deal with it." But it's not for me. Hopefully, they'll be coming out with something excellent.
Yeah. Sam, you wanted to add something
Yeah,
there?
just the last point, the diver that they have, the C65, is it the 200? I think it's one of the best value divers that they've ever released, and they're one of the few watch brands that updated that model and made it cheaper. So they're very they're very quality sensitive, and Mike is very honest about what quality costs, and he's covered in that interview. Plus, for example, he told me once that the difference between having a Salita SW200 and then a Salita SW tested to COSC is cost them $50 or £50 to get it tested.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're seeing brands that offer one movement, normal movement, and then one that's COSC, and it's many hundreds, they're padding it.
Yeah. There you go. That's why. Right. CW's growth during the pandemic till now is very impressive. And going back to like the direct sales, love getting that email with that coupon code, right? Like like that extra $125.
You won't get that anymore. That's
No, it's
been
gone. It's
yeah.
gone, huh?
Yeah.
So,
Oh
but they
man.
do two sales twice a year, one in Jan, one in I think July.
Okay.
So like they have extra inventory, they just clear that off. If you don't want to pay full price, definitely keep your eyes peeled out for that time. But I think it's a good move on the company's part, especially if you want to build any sort of brand equity. First thing you do, remove discounts.
Yeah.
It sucks for us, but it's good for the company.
Yeah. Yeah. Dib, you're a marketing genius, man. I gotta tell you.
Um,
Paul saying high quality direct sales company, free of pretense, and proud of making high value watches. Detroit's friend, I wish Dib would tell us how he really felt. No more sugarcoating. Oh, come on.
Everything is a shitter. Like where's my Grand Seikos? They're all shitters. I don't care.
Yeah.
Shitters have different levels of like is it Slumdog Millionaire shit?
All
Is it
right.
just All right, I won't go into that.
You guys.
That's a separate conversation.
Detroit Spartan, I gotta watch out for what you're saying there. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Greetings from Aruba. How are you, Canadian Watch Monkey? If you only care about quality for money spent, Christopher Ward is untouchable.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, you're a funny guy. Okay. I think Sam. I don't know if you get this on your streams, but I don't know if the guys who watch your streams get you to say stupid things when you put up comments. That these guys fool me all the time. So anyway, let's move on. Hey, Omega came out with a release. Like finally, right? We've been waiting, and I don't know what this cadence is going to be. If they're going to trickle it out for the rest of the year, or they're just teasing us. But they came out with a pretty good looking piece. I was actually pretty impressed when I saw it, and that is the Aqua Terra, the new Worldtimer. Um, this one is in green. I wanted to pick up. They have another one that's in titanium that I thought looked really great, and it's this one right here. A little on high in the price range here, right? 11,800. But man, that's a really good looking piece. And probably one to maybe wait when it comes out in the secondary market. After a while, but man, I think it's a good looking piece, great looking watch. Did what are your first thoughts here on this Worldheimer?
I'm a buyer at 7K.
It's okay. All right.
When when it eventually comes down, which it will, not today, not tomorrow, not in the
Mm,
next few months, but in a year or two, this watch isn't going anywhere. It's an excellent watch. It probably is worth 11,800, but I'm a cheapskate. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Sam, what do you think about the
Yeah,
new
I like it.
Worldheimer?
I thought I didn't know the price, and when you clicked on it, I actually thought it was going to be more than that because they did that titanium Aqua Terra a couple of years ago, didn't they, with the titanium movement, and it was like $50,000
Right, 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 right.
with
Yeah,
the retractable crown. So I was actually surprised that it was 11,800. I really like it. They're a big watch. This
mm-hmm.
this makes it look almost like it's a standard Aqua Terra size, but I've seen a couple in person, and they have a lot of wrist presence.
Yeah,
These ones, so maybe titanium is the way to go with it.
yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Give your wrist a little bit of a break with the weight. But I feel like these. You know how they say, you wear black to make it look slim. I feel like the titanium with this dark gray or black strap, whatever this is, um, will make it feel probably a little bit smaller. I'm
Yeah,
thinking. I could be wrong, but
I,
I think
I,
it's great.
I don't think they can fit the movement in a smaller case. That
Yeah,
would
yeah,
probably be the biggest Achilles heel. But I think, in this titanium case, it's a big watch. Like if you have seen the steel in person, it's a big, hefty
yeah,
watch. I definitely think with the titanium, it's gonna get slimmed down. I like the green too with the gold indices. It has the same hue as there was a Tokyo Speedmaster in the green with the gold motif. Looks exactly like that. I mean, it's a hit. I like it, especially after the duds that were the colored Aquaterras. Hated those. I mean, and again, I have seen those at the boutique. It just felt cheap to me. I mean, if I had to buy a standard Aquaterra, I'd go the 41 or the 38, the
yeah,
teak dial, whatever they already have.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know they completely bungled the release,
Right.
made people wait a year, and then it's not bad. No, don't get me wrong, it's still a good looking Omega, but for 60, well, whatever, 63, $6,600, you can do better.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say, but this stunner.
yeah. I still think the best Aqua Terra is the 15,000 Gauss with the Bumblebee second hand. That's one that I wish I could pick. They used to be quite affordable, but they've really gone up in value now. I saw I was wanting to see the green Seamaster 300 for a long time. I really wanted to see it, and I actually got to see it in person, and it was one of those where when I saw it in person, I didn't really gel to it because I've been going through a bit of a green watch phase, and I didn't really like it in person.
Mm.
It was something really weird about it. But yeah, I saw it about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, another interesting thing about this particular one, and I didn't notice it until our friend Clayton pointed out. No teak pattern on the dial, and for him that was a winner. He likes titanium, but for him that was a winner. And I'm glad they didn't do that here. Right, it probably wouldn't have fit like the color of it. I mean, like I think this is more kind of like a subdued um, look that you're getting here, like a very tactical kind of look. Um, Anytime I see like a titanium and black, I think tactical. But and I don't even know what that means. I'm probably just making it up, but I kind of like it. I do like it without the teak pattern
I
that you
mean,
see in the other one.
we have had two recent titanium sport watches in the 10 to $15,000 range. One is this,
Mm,
and the other one is the Ingenue. Now they're different classes of watches,
yeah.
completely different, but they are both sport watches. And
Yeah.
to me, I mean, it's not even a contest.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at it, and
Dib,
the
The
price
Yachtmaster,
too.
yeah, the
mhm.
Yachtmaster was 14 as well, wasn't it? I suppose that's technically a diver, isn't it,
But
than a sports watch? But
here's the thing, Sam. Are you getting an Yachtmaster 42 in titanium anytime soon? Are you spending 100K plus every year with your AD? If that's the case, yes. If not, it's not in the hands of mere mortals. Maybe to Mr. Detroit Spartan, he owns the AD. But
Yeah.
to people like us, these are the two alternatives, and
yeah,
I think and this is a regular release, might be boutique only for the first year, who knows. But I texted my AD last night, and he sorry, in the morning today, and he said, yeah, I'll get them, not
Yeah.
now, but a few months from now, and
Yeah.
I can get a discount on it you know
Yeah. You know what? Here's a thought, like, Dib. I mean, like, I know the price for you is a little bit high, and it is a little bit of a sticker shock when you when you see it at first, right? But when you compare to some of the other similar world timers, like the Chopard world timer, that is that black DLC coated one, the Bulgari,
the
um, uh,
Bulgari is cheaper.
the Bulgari
it's
is cheaper, right? But
it's
probably
DLC coated, but
the
it's
DLC
not
coated,
titanium. Yeah.
and it's not titanium. And maybe that IWC time zoner, right? When you compare it to those watches, I mean, like, this is, to me, clearly the cream of the crop when it comes to those, compared to those. So
So
maybe that it's worth every 11,800, every 11,800, as you said. It probably is worth 11,800. Um,
honestly, I'm just mad that I keep losing money on every watch I sell. That's the only reason.
okay,
I mean,
okay.
I mean, if with a 10 to 15% discount, this is like 10 grand. I mean,
Yeah,
it's great value for money.
yeah,
Again, it's a very expensive watch. Don't get me wrong.
mm,
It's I'm just cheap. I'll,
yeah.
I'll say that out loud. Loud
No,
and
no, no.
proud.
You don't have to. I mean, we know. We know. Anybody knows you. It's cheap. Go
do
ahead,
we
Sam.
do we know do you know functionally how it works? I mean, do any of those internal how do you set the GMT handle, the world time on it? Because the bezel itself doesn't rotate, or does it?
If I remember correctly, the internal like the R disk rotates,
Yeah.
and you see the triangle on top of Omega. I think that's how you keep track of time. But
Okay.
somebody in the chat, please feel free to correct me.
So
Yeah.
London's always at the bottom and Auckland's always at the top,
Yeah,
and then you just rotate there.
yeah.
Interesting.
Kevin S. Is this like the post-apocalyptic world timer, the Road by Omega? Green Watch Wednesday. Why can't the D be on the world timer? Um,
What D?
yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure following. I need the teak patterns with my Omega. Kevin S. says. Um, we we want Knoxville. Yeah, no. Somebody said no Phoenix on the dial.
No Miami
Winning,
either.
no Miami. That's a little running joke that Chaz has with me with the Phoenix. I made a big deal about the Moritz Grossman war timer that they showed Phoenix on it, which is very,
Oh,
very odd. A state or a city that doesn't change
yeah,
time, right? I mean, they keep the same. Um, they don't.
yeah. They
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, they don't change the daylight
Uh,
savings.
all and those will watch worn by Navy SEALs. Kevin's trolling me. Um, hey, Big Wrist, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Um, Pete is saying you're asking interesting questions about where does Omega sit comparing to IWC and Chopard. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just as saying the inner ring rotates the time offset. D for Detroit. Sorry. Yes. No. Yeah, man. I mean, like, I've never been to Detroit. I mean, I flew into Detroit a couple of times for a layover, but I've never been. I'm sure it's a great town. They do have Puerto Rico. Yes, they do. Boricua for sure. Um, Joey B says, "Oh, I thought Chaz was talking about the Citizen Chicken regarding Phoenix." Okay. No Newark on the dial. Bobby Legs is out. Okay. Southern Hemisphere special edition coming. I
I
don't
don't
know,
think
Cat.
so.
I don't think so. Yeah, the Southern Hemisphere usually gets a little bit cheated, right? For sure. Detroit, I'll come visit you. How about that? I've been to I've been to Ann Arbor. I've been to Ann Arbor. I've been to Ann Arbor once.
Yeah, we might need to take a vacation to Detroit just to meet King Wilson and Mrs. Spartan.
Yeah. Oh, and disrespect, I went last summer for 5 days. Family and I rented a cabin in Escanaba. That's all the way on the other side. That's upper Peninsula. That's probably like a 6 or 7 hour ride for you guys. Anyway, so no, not this in, yeah, I know. Not this in Detroit at all. Would love to have some pizza there one day. Um, all right. I feel like there was something else that came out that I wanted to showcase.
Seiko came out with a couple of watches. Grand Seiko, I think, came out with something. But that's like usual, like it's like going to Qdoba or Chipotle to get dinner.
Yeah, they got the Rowan Blazers, didn't they? The Seiko Rowan Blazers came out, which
those
with
came
pink
out, I
rail.
think, sold out first installment. Cash grab if there was a.
Yeah, I got the new Casio. Casio re-released the Twin Graph.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember the Twin Graph from the 80s?
Yeah.
So
I
this
was-
is like
yeah.
best $30 I've spent. I've just uploaded the video online. It's using
Yeah.
their new biomass plastic that they make from cornstarch or castor oil and corn. So there you go. If you want to save the environment and
Yeah.
get a fully functional watch, this
That's
has
right.
4 time zones on the home screen. So
That's right. Dib was born in 1992, so he probably doesn't know what that watch is. I know what I wanted, and thanks, Chaz, um, for the update, for the reminder. The Snoopy Seiko 5.
that's
This
a new
is
one.
fun.
Yeah.
This is fun,
Yeah.
Dib.
It's a fun. It's a shitter. I love Seiko. I mean, I'll probably get them, but uh, yeah, it's built to a price point. It has Snoopy on the dial, so I'm hopeful that my mutual friend Bobby K gets one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
2 actually. But this is like, as I said, like this is not you going out to a fancy restaurant. This is just Seiko doing their thing.
Yeah.
It,
If you like Snoopy, it's fun, man. It's fun.
it is fun, but to me, like this SLA has kind of made me so I Bobby, that I bought, and Sam, I bought over 200 Seikos in the last 4 years easily.
Wow.
So any Seiko that comes out, I buy, and after a month or two, I get bored and just ship it off to somebody else.
Right.
And it's not really advertised anywhere. I mean, these guys know, but it's just that buying so many Seikos has made me understand what I like and what I don't like. And this for me is just, I won't say it's wasting money,
Hmm.
but it doesn't interest me that much.
Okay.
Like Seiko coming out with the Astron, which arguably looks like a gender watch, SSJ813 or something. It's there in Fratello and monochrome. That is something that interests me, because that is something I have not had. And yes, there's a little bit of Genta inspiration there, but they have been making these type of Astrons for a long time, like
Yeah.
at least 7 to 10 years.
Hmm.
So you can say that they just copied themselves.
Yeah, that actually Citizen sent me the Atessa, their sort of Astron version. It doesn't
Yeah.
have the GPS link on it, but it's actually it's down there somewhere. I'm just doing a review of it, but yeah, really good titanium. Citizen did an amazing job with their titanium.
I'm pulling this one up because this to me is the best Seiko 5 that I've ever played around with. And I never owned it. I know it was a limited edition. It's all sold out. But this little Seiko 5, the Worn and Wound 10th anniversary edition, super fun watch, really great looking piece. Loved it in person. Kicking myself for not getting one when they were available for a very short period of time. But I get what you're saying, Deb. I get what you're saying. You really with that Seiko with the Snoopy release, you really have to be a big fan of Snoopy. That's but they make they do this right. They did it with didn't they do this with like the Street Fighter characters with the Seiko
Yeah.
fives? I mean, like
They had a Street Fighter edition,
yeah,
then they had something or the other. I just can't, like a Honda Super Cub. Somebody mentioned that in the
right,
chat.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Then they had, what's the other anime called? Like they do a bunch of anime inspired designs.
Yeah.
And I think what Seiko has tried to concentrate right now is anything collaboration, which gets inspiration from a certain manga or a comic or an anime or a movie. They just push it into the Seiko 5 line, in instant. Because, for example, back in 2020, you had the SNR Seiko with the GMT with the Spring Ride movement, which was based on the Gundam series, like
Mm,
Mobile Suit Gundam. Then you had two Emperor tuners, which were really based on the villains of that show. So they used to do these sort of collabs, but I think it's easier for them to manufacture more profit for the Seiko 5 line. So instead of doing it on the higher end models, they're just shifting it to anything Seiko 5.
Yeah. The only one I liked of that was that recent Masked Rider one they did, which I think was a Japanese
mm.
show at the
I
time.
can't get that for a decent price, and I don't want to pay $500 for it. Kamen
Yeah,
Rider.
I love the aesthetic of it.
Yep.
Man, this one came out this is the most ridiculous collab. Um, but I, as a Nespresso owner, right, who sends the pods back to Nespresso to recycle,
Yeah.
and kind of like a closeted Hublot fan, I love it. I freaking love it. I love this. I love everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have been saying it out loud, loud and proud. I love the Unico Big Bang
Yeah.
42. To me, it's a baller watch, and I don't know, something about the design speaks to me. Again, I wasn't really impressed till the time I was in Vegas, and like me and my buddy Clayton, we went into the Hublot boutique for fun, and I was hooked. There's nothing, like, again, if you buy it at MSRP, you're a fool, because this one might not, but the standard editions dropped like 50%,
Mm,
60% of MSRP, and even then it's still a pretty hefty amount because it's like 12, 13 grand. But if I can ever manage to get one, I will. Like, I just love the aesthetic, the way it sits on the wrist. It has a lot of wrist presence too, and it's one of those watches where you don't really, like, if you care what other people think, then this watch is probably not for you. But if you're very loud and brash person, like, look at me kind of guy, this is perfect watch, perfect. I mean, just look at it. I mean, if I had that, I'd be going around the block saying, like, F you guys, look at my Hublot. Forget Rolex.
it's even got the Nespresso symbol on the crown. Oh my god!
The
Like,
only thing which I'll say is light on details is probably because most YouTubers don't focus on Hublot.
yeah.
It's so this has an in-house flyback chronograph mechanism. So, and again, I haven't done a lot of research, but I'm genuinely curious to know more about the movement.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it's based on something Zenith, because LVMH, like, they own both the companies,
yeah.
and there are design inspirations which both brands, like, kind of take from each other.
Mm,
But it's a very industrial looking movement, not really the best, certainly not 21K worth,
yeah.
but 9800 for the titanium. Oh boy, I mean, I had a tough time. So
I could just see myself like one day, like sitting on a terrace and sipping my Melosio, which is a type of pod, the flavor pod of it's 8.5 strength with caffeine, in the meter of the espresso, and just sipping it and just like just looking at this watch, you know, I could totally
It
see that.
is what it looks like Bobby put in there. I like it, except for the coffee grounds can be seen embedded in the rubber strap. Is that right? Did they embed coffee grinds into the strap?
I think so.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that
think so. I don't
even
know.
more reason. Even more reason.
Look at this, if it smells like coffee all the time.
Oh man, I love coffee. And having a watch, made of coffee or whatever coffee grinds in the
Uh,
strap, be perfect.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
perfect.
like I went to Boston recently, and I got the chance and opportunity to. All right, is this the one? So this is the white ceramic. Now it's very loud, loud and proud. I'm a happy guy, like again, I have hated on Hublot all my life, but something about the design speaks to me.
Mm.
It's at the end of the day, buy what you like, buy what you can afford, right? Whether
Yeah,
it's a $500 notice or some shitter or a Hublot,
yeah,
and when it's not a if, it's a when. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but I will buy that Uniqlo Big Bang sometime. And when I do, I'm going to get a lot of hate. People will call it a shitter, but I wouldn't care because it's my money.
yeah.
Yeah, I hardly, I hardly ever see Hublot out in the wild. There's one of the bosses at work. He's got the very understated big band. There's one that's I think one of the original ones that looks almost, it looks not a normal watch, but it looks almost, it's like
Ish.
normal sized.
Yeah.
And that looks really smart. I was impressed with seeing that in person, but you hardly ever see these ones out in the
Yeah.
wild, do you?
I think there's probably certain cities in the country. Like I'm sure Miami, you'll
Well,
probably
yeah,
see a
maybe
lot
we'll
of
go down there and
a lot
check
of
it out.
hooplas.
We're actually going to Japan in the end of June as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing doing some watch spotting there.
Yeah, I wonder. So like, eBay's full of these Japanese dealers, right? And I've had some success, or have been happy with some of my purchases from these Japanese dealers. And I
Yeah,
noticed, and I think Dib had pointed this out to me at one point, like a while ago. A lot of the bigger watches, right? They're quite available, bigger size diameter because we're a little bit heftier here in the state in the West than they are in Japan. So a lot of these watches they tend to not be worn, or they have them for a very short time and it's too big, and they get rid of them. And someone else was explaining to me, like, and I don't know if this is if this is true or not, but in the Japanese culture, I mean, they prefer buying things new, right? So they're not really keen on the used market. So I would be interested to see what your thoughts are, if you see a lot of, like, pre-owned stuff, and like the variety and the price point of that kind of stuff, like, like how
yeah, and definitely. I'm excited to go. Also, some of the, like Todd on who joins me on the live streams, a huge vintage Seiko collector, speed
Mm,
timers, and he goes on because the big auction site in Japan is Yahoo Auctions, but you can actually register. There's a company that acts as a go-between, so you can bid through Yahoo Auctions through this site and pay in US
was it
dollars. And
Bai
yes,
Japan?
Bai,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Have you used that before? Because he uses that quite a lot.
I've used it. I know Dib has used it a bunch of times. It's part of the rotation, right? When you look for watches online, like, you have certain sites that you go to, and that's one of them. A
Yeah.
lot of the Japanese buyers, sellers that I see on eBay, they're also there on Bai, and you can figure out, like, price point, like, if it's better depending on shipping and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I'm excited to use it, but I like that Sakura watches.
Sakura watches,
Yeah,
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 for sure.
that's where I bought this. That's where I bought the GMT, and then I bought the other. I can't remember the other Seiko that I bought. But I
Last
bought the speed timer. I bought the
Yeah.
speed timer, the SSC 911.
Last summer, I must have bought maybe about a dozen watches from Sakura, because the pricing is almost updated every day. It's very price sensitive, U.S. versus the yen. So when the U.S. dollar was stronger versus the yen last year, much stronger than it is today. Well, somewhat stronger. The pricing was bananas. How cheap. You
Mm.
go there and buy like Seikos. It was like, and the nearest competition here in the States, or even in Nomon watches, or some of the other Japanese sites. I mean, like, for some reason, Sakura was way cheaper than everybody else, and I definitely took advantage. And the prices have inched up a little bit, but you can still find some good stuff there too. Yeah, Sakura is great. Um,
I,
Nespresso, yeah.
I
Go ahead.
think at
Yeah,
the end of the day, everybody needs to do their due diligence, whether it's Japan or whether it's the US. But generally, I've seen that Japanese sellers are pretty honest with how they describe the watch. So, for example, the last Grand Seiko that I got from a reseller, I had to pay him a little bit of a premium for the watch because obviously it sold out. But the way his interactions were, I mean, English is not their first language, so you definitely need to read between the lines when they're trying to translate something for you.
yeah, yeah.
But definitely the level of service that they provide, and this was a list sale that I did on Chrono 24. You can't really talk to the seller on buy, definitely, because obviously they're a proxy service and you're trying to get the watch through them. But this guy like sent me videos of him packing the box, like that. Then he sent me a video of him removing the tape, just so he could show me that, hey, if the tape is removed, please contact me, and I'll try to figure out, because somebody at FedEx nicked a previous customer's watch. Then he sent me a video of the watch, like literally a winding edge showing that it works. I'm like, that's what service is. And Sam, I'd 100% suggest, if you are going there, try to see if you can. Again, I don't know your price point, but there are plenty of Japanese limited edition Grand Seikos or Citizens that might be in your budget, that you might find while you're traveling. And again, I don't know how much time you might have, but definitely, keep a lookout for +9 time. I'm sure you know that Instagram account, Anthony Keeble,
Oh, no.
guy from Australia. He keeps track of any Japanese watch that's released, so he's your go-to source. So maybe you can get a Japanese limited Grand Seiko or a Citizen or a Seiko that you might have in mind.
Yeah,
Make your
yeah, no, I definitely will. Yeah, I'm intrigued by those the high end, the high end citizens, the citizen, and
yeah.
the other watch with the high end eco drives in them.
Pete saying Hublot is a paradox. Their biggest sellers are their more expensive stuff, so you want to see a lot. Yeah, Kevin, Bobby doing the currency arbitrage with mid-tier Seikos for sure. Um, Scrolling over here, I got a killer deal. Marceau is saying on UN from Japanese dealer Rakuten, Japan is a good place to search for Japanese dealers. Awesome. Yeah, no, there's definitely some great stuff out there. If you look, and we all know that, right? We're seasoned watch buyers, veterans, if you
The
will.
only thing that I like to do is, if I were to buy any Seiko that I know you can get it from Japan and it's available in the States, I give the sale to my Seiko guys. Like,
Mm.
that's just me being me. Probably not probably, but usually the watches are cheaper from Japan. But like, I have a relationship with them, and it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I buy from an AD in Orlando. Orlando Watch Company is a Seiko dealer, and Grand Seiko.
Nice to know that.
Well, hey Sam, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. I love hearing that insight, especially with Christopher Ward and Mike France and Dib. As a fan of Christopher Ward, I really appreciate your input today. And just I appreciate you guys in general. You guys are great. Appreciate it. Anyway, chat. Great job tonight. You guys are the best. Sam's link to his YouTube channel is in the description. Sam, do you have anything coming up in the next few days?
Yeah, so I've just uploaded the review of this one, the twin graph, and then yeah, I'll be doing the Christopher Ward. Going to take me a couple of days, and then I've got the Citizen, the Atessa, their sort of Astron, I guess, version. Coming up. So yeah, got a few I'm working on, and then we'll have our Sunday social on Sunday live stream on Sunday at 4:30.
4:30. Yeah, definitely check out Sam at Sam channel 4:30 for
Uh,
that stream.
One
Yeah,
thing,
Deb.
Bobby,
Yeah.
I forgot to tell the guys, but I went to the Tudor boutique
Oh yeah.
downtown, and I did see the red Metas Tudor. So I don't know if it's
Oh
popping up
yeah,
or not,
Yeah.
yeah,
but I mean, again, like I have a skinny wrist, so I can't really pull this off, even though it looks pretty good in the pictures. But
yeah.
for anybody with a 6.5 inch wrist and above, I think this is a better watch than the Blackberry 54, which I'm getting because that suits my wrist far better.
Yeah.
Really impressed with the quality of the rubber because this is the first time I've seen a Tudor on rubber. Like especially kind of integrated. They have reduced the thickness. It doesn't feel as slap sided as the GMT.
Mm,
Definitely a lot of improvement in this watch, and I think from what Cole Pennington said, they're moving to Metas movements overall, like come
across the
all
board.
across the board.
Yeah.
So definitely something interesting to watch because they are really undercutting Omega with like providing Metas movements while being less than $5,000. Um, so I think exciting things to come from Tudor. Like again, though even though the Black Bay is kind of like the dead horse, and like they're just beating it up every day,
Yeah.
it's still a good
So good.
seller for them.
So good looking watch. Yeah, I got no
It's a
problem
good
with it.
looking watch. Somebody who doesn't want to spend Rolex money or wants to get a Rolex, Tudor is the way. Like you need to suck up to your AD.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah,
it is.
there's a good AD in Orlando as well. Justin, who's the manager there, really good Tudor boutique.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you on Friday for another stream. Take care. Good night.